So we've had officially at least, the first season of Glorious Battle start up. I'm still insisting it's the second season. That testing season was too painful to be a testing season. That was definitely a real season in my opinion. But we had the changes they announced beforehand, and I'm just going to talk about how I think they've changed the event really, because I have a few opinions on them, I guess. It's been, what, a little over a week now, 10 days or so, 9-10, and we've probably all felt these changes at this point. Maybe gone a few fights, felt the resilience cost changes, the healing cost, the resource costs, all that stuff. So first of all, healing and defeated rates are still ridiculous in my opinion. This Glorious Battle Hospital thing, I don't even feel its effect really. It's still... So I can probably just show you, right? So up here it shows you what you're getting returned, which is all 10% of what you've lost. And I've had one fight in this entire event. I wonder if I can find it. Is it this one? Yeah. So this is the only fight I've been involved in. So just one. And in this one fight, if you take these as 10% values, I lost over 640,000 dead tier 4s. Like, just dead, not even wounded. And I used almost 900 million grain, wood, 440 million gold just to heal. So the healing cost reductions, I'm not even sure if they exist, honestly. If they do, they're still way too high. It's still way too oppressive, because you can't sustain this. If this is from one fight, I can't do 600k dead tier 4s every single time we fight. I'm in a very strong alliance. I have very good alliance gifts, and that is impossible for me, let alone for smaller players, right? So I just think that's ridiculous. I still think it needs toning down. I mean, the healing costs in terms of resources and speed ups need toning down, and the defeated rates. Because if we look at like the reports I have here, I hope there are still some down here. Yeah, there are. Like, this guy hit me hard. So what was I in resilience here? Well, I wasn't even at 50, 0 resilience, I mean, on this hit. And he was full bows, which we know are OP in this event. But just from this one hit, 125k dead tier 4s, and having to heal another 400k, just from one hit, it's just too much in my opinion. No one is gonna... After they go through this, 2 or 3 times tops, if you're a normal account, you're just done. And it's a 30-day event. It can't be that oppressive in terms of healing and retraining costs. It's just way, way, way too much. And every time I got defeated was basically the same. Just huge healing bills, huge deads. It's not right. They need... If they want this to be a success, in my opinion, it still all needs way, way toning down. Way toning down. So I said that in my reaction video to this forum post. Have they edited the text here? Have they crossed out the lower healing cut? Is that real? That can't... What is that? So they've literally just crossed out the tooltip which says the GV hospital has a lower resource cost for healing and a faster healing speed. So that was fake news, apparently. That wasn't real. It feels that way. Actually give it a lower resource cost for healing and a faster healing speed. It'll be much, much better if you do. What's even the point of it then? Because you still have dead. So why does it even exist? I don't know. That's frustrating to me. Past that, at least, I need to get off that topic. We have the blacklist function on fortresses. if I can, yeah, down here in ignore list, this is how you access it. It's not really clear how you access it. I needed to ask around myself. So if you're one of the officials, you click on a fortress, you click view, go to ignore list, and then you find someone like that, and then you add them to the ignore list. Does it add them to all of them, or do you have to manually do it on every single one? Okay, it does on all of them, that's good. But that's how you add someone to the blacklist on deploying from fortresses. I still think a whitelist function would work better, because if you look at the numbers up here, we have what, over 1,400 accounts that have entered the GB map basically. Not all of these will be active, of course, but that's still a lot. And blacklisting everyone who you don't want deploying out fortresses like that is basically impossible. There's always going to be people just making mistakes or just not listening, hard to communicate with. A whitelist function would be so much better. You just find your top 25 accounts, give them all the whitelist, and then have them have free reign deploying on locations you're hitting or defending to get higher resilience when they land in there. But with this current system, it's just a bit too awkward to manage. It's a bit too slow that you have to watch for people deploying out the fortresses. If you're, say, attacking this gate here, and you have people coming out base down this line, if you're already marching to this and you have people in this little bit here, you can't even tell who's coming out of this fortress. There's no way of telling it because the visual cues all overlap, and that just makes the blacklist function really, really awkward in my opinion. So I'd still like that to be revised to a whitelist function. Another thing with the fortresses is the armament supplies that it takes to deploy out of them has been reduced by either 1,000%, if not higher. It's 10 times lower than it was before. And I feel like this adds to the healing cost problem, because if you're either attacking or defending, so if you're attacking and you're one of the accounts deploying out fortresses, before the healing cost was sort of naturally mitigated just by the fact you'd be marching for ages, whereas you can sort of just deploy out fortresses over and over and over again. So before it would cost me 70 million supplies up here to deploy out of them, and that would empty the fortress right there, whereas now I could deploy 10 times out of it, and every single time I get knocked out, as you saw in my reports down here, it's 100k dead tier 4s and hundreds of thousands of tier 4s that need healing. Admittedly, I'm sending pure tier 4 because of the reinforcement skill to exploit that, so maybe I sort of deserve the excessive healing costs. That's a fair point, I guess, and it won't be that extreme for everyone, but I'm pretty sure it is, to be honest. If you just ask around, you've probably felt it yourself too, right? And the same with defending. You could just have, so over here, Ultizio, if red here attack this gate, Ultizio could just deploy out of this fortress once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and all the defenders would just have to eat a full resilience Ultizio of 1.1 million tier 4 bows over and over and over again. And you can't get any space to breathe because he doesn't have the marching times from base. And I think that's kind of fine, honestly. The problem is, in addition to the healing cost and the retraining costs, right? So if the defeated rates come down, the healing costs come down in terms of resources and speed ups, that would be fine, in my opinion. But with the current casualties, it's just way too much. It hurts too much. So it goes back to that original point. Defeated rates and healing costs have to go down. The enforced peace times, I think, have been quite a nice addition, all this stuff. I think that's worked quite well. I'd like it to be a bit more in your face though. Maybe just, I don't know, a scrolling banner when in the GB map, or just a little pop-up in the corner or something saying being able to declare war will be unavailable from this time to this time, because it's a bit obscured if you don't figure it all out yourself. I guess it's a bit frustrating in that sense, but it is positive in my opinion, just having little moments to breathe, not being able to exploit people being in events, but also just having a bit of time to focus on the diplomatic side of the event, right? Because if you can't fight for 24 hours, you either do nothing, or you can come to deals, come to arrangements with those around you, and, try and figure out things that way to further you in the event when you can attack stuff again. I do still think it would also be better as a single kingdom event. Again, I said that last time too. We had perfect communication with the rest of our faction. It was a bit shaky at the start with our current faction right now, but we're getting it together now. I don't have any complaints at all really about our faction at this point. But there's just unnecessary complications of it being like 7 kingdoms here. So there's communication barriers immediately because 1, you don't know anyone in all likelihood that you get matched with. So you need to earn people's trust and their respect for them to even listen to you. Then there's like language barriers, which you also have to overcome. Then there's time zone differences, so if you want to declare war and stuff, even NPCs, like if you want to maximize everyone's glory points through NPCs, if half your faction is like European, the other half is Asian, there's big problems there in terms of getting everyone to be available at the same time. Whereas if it's just one kingdom based, you can control that a bit better. I just think it would be so much more simple if it was one kingdom based and just bracketed by power, like AC and Siege of Winterfell are, or at least something similar to that. I do think it would flow a lot better if that was the case. And then what else is there? The resilience system, they changed the formula a bit, and I do think that's felt. Like, I haven't seen Wales in PvP going 100 kills deep before being kicked out. I do think they're getting kicked out a bit easier in the lower resiliences, which is good. And then on the topic of that too, the reinforcement skill, it was tweaked a little bit. So it says here, if troops are lost in a battle with the enemy, 15 resilience will be used when that battle ends. And that is sort of true, but I think it's a bit more complicated than it reads, and I'm not sure how many people have figured this out yet. So so here for example, I will have 48 resilience there, and then if we look at the next fight, I should not drop resilience, right? Because I have 0 dead, and so therefore I haven't lost troops in battle. So I should still have 48, but it will be 36, I think. 33, okay? So I think this is true as far as I can understand it, but it comes into effect before the dragon skill does. So because I had 50k casualties there, yes, they get offset by the reinforcement skill, so there's 0 actual loss. But if you have actual casualties, your resilience will drop, even if it doesn't show directly in the report up here. But what this does mean is that like 10,000 troops, because you can't send 1 troop anymore, it has to be 10k or more. If you send like 10,000 tier 1 bowmen, and they all just die immediately, and I have actually 0 spearman casualties up here, then my resilience won't drop. So you can't just tank people's resilience with the reinforcement skill with ults. You do actually need to do damage to them. It's a balance between making the skill irrelevant in the event, like I suggested, which was just removing the dragons from the event, like Siege of Winterfell, and still having it be decent. So I think it's in at least a bit better spot because of that. The skill isn't as oppressive as before. You can drop Mega Whale's resilience by just doing a little bit of damage to them. I'm not sure if there are ways to exploit that. So you could send, say, like, if you have a 4-star Salma, for example, which I know is a very high paid entry barrier, but the way her 4-star works is it will immediately do an instance of damage as soon as the fight starts. So you could send like 10k tier 1 Bowman with a 4-star Salma, and that will still at least get like 1 or 2 defeated on a max account's march, or it should at least. So that would still drop their resilience, and maybe, again, if you're fighting here, you could just deploy that 10k tier 1s out of the fortress over and over to tank their resilience. That's probably overcomplicating it very unnecessarily, but my point is there are little interactions like that which there weren't before now. You can counteract max accounts just a little bit better. I'm pretty sure that's about it. I'm not sure. Oh, this stuff is stupid in my opinion. The fact you can effectively buy warhorns and buy contribution points is stupid. You're basically buying leaderboard position with black diamonds. That should not be the case whatsoever. That really shouldn't be the case. I don't know who was asking for this. It's just adding microtransactions totally unnecessarily. I don't understand this being added, and it should be removed again in my opinion. It probably won't be. But of all the things they fixed, like, they don't change the hospital whatsoever apparently, but they can add contribution points and warhorn microtransactions. It just gives such an unfair advantage in my opinion, which just shouldn't exist. So with all these changes, I'm not too happy really. I think there could be such a good event here, but nothing that was a huge issue was fixed like I think it should have been. There's also the impeachment system with other officials. We haven't had to use that, but at least it exists. That was an issue last time, so maybe that's something. But everything else I feel like should have even been done differently, been changed full stop, or wasn't asked for. So I still think there's a ways to go. That the resilience changes were good, to be fair. But yeah, we need to see a few more changes in my opinion for this event to really be good, because right now it's gonna just get to a point where it has the reputation when no one will play it, because the healing costs and the retraining costs are just way too high. People will get on the map and just arrange deals with everyone to not fight, and it will just be incredibly boring because of that. So some things need to be changed to prevent that from happening in my opinion. We'll see where it goes.